Oh, there we go. We are live. Hey. Well, welcome. It's 4 minutes past 8 p.m. here. And is it 4 minutes past 6 a.m. in New York? All right. Well, we'll start. I'm waiting for 2 other people to join us, but they can join us. So thank you very much for joining me. I know it's 6 o'clock in New York at the moment. It's just 5 minutes past 8 p.m. in Melbourne, Australia. I'm so excited to host you today. We've been chatting on LinkedIn where we've been connections for a while now. And you inspire me with your journey. And I was just like, this is the guy that I should reach out to. So a bit about myself. For those people that don't know me, we've been connections with you, Marz, for a while. My name is Agnes. I'm the founder and executive director of Australian Sickle Cell Advocacy. And I'm so excited, as I said, to have you today. So these sessions, we are having these sessions because of the COVID-19, and we had to be creative to have something that we can do in terms of reaching out to people affected by sickle cell in Australia, but not only Australia, but worldwide. To be honest, at this point, I want to reach everybody who's affected by sickle cell. So before we start, I'd just like to mention to all our viewers in Australia, this is something that I have to do. So as I said, these sessions, which now I'm calling Sickle Cell Talks with Agnes, is because of what's happening. Everybody's affected by the COVID pandemic, and my heart goes to everybody who's directly affected with all this situation. But today, most importantly, I'm so inspired that I have you today. And for people who do not know you, you are Marz Bishop. Yeah, after getting connection, talking about today, you've given me a very inspiring topic, and how you're going to share your experience of living with sickle cell and how you've empowered so many youths and so many people in your community. So your topic is so powerful. It says that sickle cell is a superpower. Seriously, how good is that?
Really, for me, is the connecting factor of showing people really, truly, honestly, of how I've adopted the mindset of saying that sickle cell is a superpower to me. So I'll go ahead and introduce myself. I am Marz Bishop. I am currently professional speaker, coach, advocate, and just a all around, normal type of individual. Just trying to make a difference through my story to show other individuals how they can improve their performance and maximize their potential, regardless where they come from, what type of challenges they go through. I don't look at limitations. I don't look at anything as being able to stop me, because as long as I have a mindset that's functioning, I'm able to do whatever I want to do, and I can overcome any type of challenge that's put in front of me, as long as I focus on a solution and not the problem.
Yeah, that's good. So do you want to tell me a little bit about your journey? Like, how old were you when you were diagnosed with sickle cell? Just how did you know growing up? How did you know that you had sickle cell?
Well, that right there, my journey has been a crazy one. At the age of 5 years old, my mother, she had to go into the military because she was in a domestic violence situation with my father and in their marriage. So they didn't know at the time when I was born. I was born in 1976, so they didn't have the tests the way that they have them now.
Yeah.
And when she went into the military, there was a time when I woke up in agonizing pain, and she didn't understand what was going on. So she took me directly to the hospital. And when we got to the hospital, they told her, after running the tests and doing the exams, they came to her and they said, "Ma'am, I don't know how to tell you, but your son has sickle cell anemia." She didn't even know she was a trait carrier. She didn't know what sickle cell was. So I had to have an emergency transfusion at that point in time. And at that point, that's when she found out that I had sickle cell anemia. So it was about 5 years old. So And that's way late to find out that anyone has sickle cell. So normally that's found out like in the beginning, right when a child is born, they do the test and they come and they let you know, your daughter may have the trait or they may have the full disorder.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the story is a bit similar to us. Like for me as well, I grew up over 30 years, to be honest. I didn't know that I carried the sickle cell trait. So it's surprising that, you know, even in America, because I know in America it's very common. It's very, very common compared to other parts of the world. Like I'm from the southern part of Africa, Zambia. It's not so much common that we talk about it, and the testing is not as popular as it is in America with the newborn screening. So it's surprising that your mom actually didn't know that she had the trait. So are you the only one in the family who has the sickle cell? Or do you have siblings who have sickle cell disease?
No, ma'am, I'm the only one on both sides. On my father's side and on my mother's side, I'm the only one that has sickle cell. My older sister, she has the trait, but she doesn't go through half the challenges that I've gone
Okay. Well, so I didn't manage to open my presentation. I'll do that at the end. So I need you to tell me more about your superpower. So just how did this start? So you got diagnosed
through.
about 5 years old, yeah? And then what happened throughout in life? Do you remember when you had your first crisis when you had 5, or when did you start noticing that there was something different or something wrong?
Well, my first crisis that I can remember was around probably around 7, 8 years old. I used to get
Mm,
really bad migraines, and that was the cause of everything. And I can remember, I think there was a time when my mother was holding me and I would black out. I used to have blackouts with my crisis, with my headaches, and I remember, being in her arms and just blacking out, and she didn't understand what was going on. So
mm,
those are like some of the first challenges that I can remember. But I also remember like the older that I got, the worse they became. And I can, going in and out of the hospital at like 8 years old and just all the agonizing pain that I would be in. Like I really hated sickle cell in the beginning. I hated the fact that I even had
mm,
it. And just the pain that comes with it. I can't even explain to you the pain. Like you wouldn't be able to understand. Like when every bone in your body, it just shuts down. When every joint at simultaneously is like you just want to die.
mm,
And I just can remember just screaming to the top of my lungs, and just letting my mother know. Now my mother was strong, and she's still strong to this day. And she would just be ready to go, and she was on the move whenever I would tell her we need to go to the hospital. She was like right there. So I remember going to the hospitals and just being in the hospitals, and I can always ask her, like, "Mommy, why is this happening to me? Why am I going through this?"
mm,
And she could never give me an answer. And she was, just told me that you're special. Just remember that you're special. And I was like, okay, well, I don't feel special. How am I supposed to feel special when I'm in all this agonizing pain? How am I
mm.
supposed to feel special when I'm the only one going through this? But over the course of the years, it took for me to recognize what she was saying. Like, okay, I am special because there's nobody else who knows what I'm going through.
Yeah, yeah.
And just when you're in that type of position, for me it was like, okay, I just want to die. That was like the main thing. I just want to die. And I can just remember screaming out to God, like, please just kill me. Like, I would rather be dead than continuously going through the pain all the time. And I remember there was one time we were in a hospital, and they give you Dilaudid, they give you the Teradol, they give you all these different like morphines, they get to subsidize the pain. And I remember laying there, and I told my mother, I said, "Mommy, I don't like the way that this is making me feel. Please don't let
Mm,
them give that to me anymore."
mm,
And she was like, "Okay." So over the course of time, I never took none of the pain medicine. Like for my headaches, I had to take the pain medicine because of my migraine. So at the age of 7 years old, I was taking Tylenol 4 with codeine, which is like one of the strongest Tylenols that they can give you. And just growing up, I train my body not to take the medication. So I don't take medication. I'm not on any drugs that the doctors try to prescribe to you because I didn't want to grow up and I didn't want to be attached to anything like that.
So
And
when did you learn, sorry to cut you short, when did you start controlling, like, so I'm saying this from the experience that we had with our daughter. First, let me recognize Yemi. Yemi, can you hear me?
Hi, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. What's wrong with your video? We can't see you.
I'm going to open it in a minute.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us. So
Thank you so much.
Yemi, Moses, and Marz Bishop, you're both in the same town, so hopefully you guys can catch up. Yeah, so I was saying, I just need to understand, Marz, like when our daughter was growing up, I mean, as a mom, I don't know whether I would decide for her not to, I don't know, up to some point, because she was so young anyway, because maybe she started growing up about 9, maybe 8, she would tell us how she felt. So at what point do you think you are able to, is it being able to control your body, or is it just to sort of and not think about it? So at what point did you start, or did you stop, taking medication?
well, to be honest with you, once they controlled the headache, that pretty much was it. It was always to the fact where I just learned how to control the pain. I learned how to deal with it. When you wake up every day and you're in pain, you're either gonna deal with it or you're gonna try to do something to subside it. And I just learned how to deal with it. I learned how to control it, and I learned how not to focus on it so much. Like that, and that was my strongest thing. You know how they always say, where your mind goes, the body will follow.
Yeah. I'm a firm believer in the mind and the body. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I never let my mind ever believe that I was sick. And that's why I don't call it sickle cell, because I'm not sick. I do call it super cells because I'm powerful. And I believe that your words have power. So whatever you speak over your life is the way that you can transform your life to be. So it's always been that since I can remember, the only medication that I do take is the folic acid, and I do take anti-inflammatory. So I take the ibuprofen 800, and I take another one, anti-inflammatory called diclofenac. And those kind of, because I don't take the hard pain, like the hard medication, like the Dilaudid and like the morphine, I don't take that. So my body it's acclimated to not being dependent on anything.
Okay.
And see, what I found out is that when you continuously take in that medication over and over again, it's making your body dependent on it. So when your body becomes dependent on it, now it puts you in the position of constantly tearing you down, because all it is breaking down your organs even more.
So with growing up with the side effects, because I read in your bio, you did have a stroke at one point, right?
I had 2 strokes. My first stroke was at the age of 22 years old. But that was because at that point in time in my life, my mindset was I was trying to kill myself. Because of the fact, like I said, when you wake up in pain every day, it puts you in a position of like I told you, in the beginning, I hated God. I hated the fact that I had this. And I only looked at it from that point at being sick because everything that I was going through. So at that point in my life, I was really trying to kill myself, and I was just living destructively. So when I say I was living destructively, that means that I was drinking a lot. I was smoking a lot. I was like hanging out with the wrong crowds, and I was doing everything negative to try to tear my body down. So the very first time that I had my stroke, I was 22 years old. And when I found out how much I didn't want to die, it was just like, that was one of the most scariest moments in my life.
Yeah. So what were because at that point you are old enough. So just run us through, like, how did you feel? What were your symptoms? How did you, what happened?
let me see, at that point in time, I was on the bus and I was leaving, I was in California. So I was leaving from Inglewood and I was going to, I went to school for medical assistant, right? And when I was on the bus, I felt my lips start to tingle and I felt my fingers go numb and my eyes started going blurry. And I became like really nervous because I was far from home. And I was just like, okay, God, I'm not ready to die. Like, what's going on? You know, like really what's going on? Like, this is not what I want.
Yeah.
And at that point in time, that's when I was like, okay, this is not what I want to happen. And from that moment on, it did something, but I never really transitioned or went away from the way that I was living. It just caught me off guard. And when I went back to New York, after my daughter was born, I have a 19-year-old daughter, and she has the trait.
Yeah.
So when I started to lose mobility in my left arm, I started to see that she was left-handed. So I was like, okay, I didn't lose my left arm. I just gave it to her. Right?
Yeah.
So everything that I've gone through, it has put me in a mindset of saying, as long as I start accepting this as what it is and stop fighting myself, because when you fight against yourself, you're stopping yourself from being your natural person. You're stopping yourself from being who God created you to be. Now, if I just told you, you gave me this, and I'm the only person on both sides of the family, you gave it to me for a reason. They always say he gives his strongest warriors the most difficult assignments.
Yeah.
So I'm stronger than what I even knew. But I was so much fighting against him and I was fighting against me. And that's when I was like, okay, something's got to change. But it didn't change until I accepted him for who he was. And then I remember when I got here to Atlanta, I went to my very first sickle cell symposium. And this is the first time I ever been around other individuals with sickle cell.
And how old were you then? How old were you then?
I was somewhere within my 30s. I was somewhere in my 30s. I'm 44 now. And I was having a conversation with one of the gentlemen as we were walking to the mall. And we were talking about sickle cell. And I can't remember the exact conversation. And I had to stop him. I said, bro, let me tell you, I don't have sickle cell. I have SuperCell. And he was just like, yo, you don't know how powerful that is. Yeah. And at the time, I didn't know how powerful it was. But I started to put it in my mindset to say that I have SuperCells and not sickle cell. And it just made so much sense to me. And it just, once I started to adopt it, it just put me in a whole different position. And it gave me like a strength that I can't even explain to anybody. You know, it was like me accepting the fact, like, this is who I am. And once I accepted who I was, it just made it just made a difference within my life.
Yeah.
And then once I started opening up and talking about the challenges that I've gone through, it just took me on this journey that has been phenomenal up to this point.
Okay. Well, interesting. So I've got another participant join us. Yemi, so here's Marz. Anything you want to sort of share quickly? We're live on Facebook, by the way, if you are happy to just share a little bit about the similarities that you may think you have with Marz.
First of all, good morning, good evening. How are you guys?
Good. Sorry I had to wake you up so early, 6 a.m. in New York.
No problem. Marz, it's really good hearing your story. I was also born with sickle cell. And my parents had 7 children in all, and 4 of us were born with sickle cell. And I suffered a stroke at the age of 12. And so I kind of know that experience. I just wanted to ask you, how did they end up controlling your headaches? Because that's an issue that I am currently having. What did they use?
At the time when I did have bad headaches, they gave me Tylenol 4 with codeine.
Okay, Tylenol 4. Okay, because of course, like you said, over years, I'm currently on hydroxyurea. I've been taking hydroxyurea for the last 26 years, and that was as a result of me having my stroke. Initially, when I had my stroke, they put me on blood trans, and then my blood antibodies, and so they had to find an alternative. And at the time, they were trialing hydroxyurea for the use in sickle cell patients. So I started that trial, and it's been effective for the last 26 years. But I feel the way you're speaking. You know, I know over all this time, my body has gotten so used to these medications, and I want to wean myself off as much as possible without affecting myself in a negative way. Um, but as a result of taking all these medicines, like you mentioned, it has done damage to my organs. So I think my migraines really started about 6 months ago, and I started taking Excedrin. And when I went into the hospital a couple of weeks ago, they let me know that my kidney function was a little lower, which is also, it's always been a problem because as a result of having crises and being on those strong medications, morphine, et cetera, you know, those do damage to your organs, to your kidney. So I'm going through a stage now where I want to wean myself off. You know, sickle cell also for me has been something where I said, okay, I'm going to take power over this. I'm not going to be a victim of it. It's not going to be the cause of my demise. And I told my mother that from childhood. I told my mother that sickle cell will not kill me, you know, and I didn't have any knowledge of faith. I didn't have any knowledge of decreeing something over my life, but I know at the age of around 12, 13, I let my mother know this is not going to take me out. And so that's been the words that I use over. And as a result of using those words, now I'm to the point where I'm like, okay, what else can I do? What else is another way, or what are the alternatives for me to live a long and healthy life as a sickle cell patient? And I say that in air quotes because I'm not giving it the right over me. I'm not giving, you know, I'm not giving it the right over my life. So, but I do realize that it is a condition, and I need to pay attention to it, and I need to make sure I treat myself accordingly. So yeah, I'm going through that phase now where I'm trying to take herbs or take, you know, natural remedies, or you know, address issues that have been caused as a result of my sickle cell, outside of taking things like lisinopril or tramadol. You know, I use a lot of prayer now if I'm having my headaches. I woke up this morning with a headache, and instead of popping any medication, I just use like an herb that I rub on my skin just to kind of draw it out. But I appreciate you sharing your story, and it's good to hear from a SuperCell warrior.
So we
And I
put that
love the way you term
SuperCell.
that. Yeah.
I know. So we put that SuperCell. So now, Marz, take it up. You're about to go to your first convention in your 30s. What happens?
Say that one more time. I couldn't hear you.
I was saying, you said the first time you went to a convention was around your 30s, the first time you ever spoke openly about sickle cell. And you're working with this guy, and you tell him that I don't have sickle cell. I've got sickle powers. What did you call them?
Nah, I got super cells. I got super
Yeah,
cells.
super cells. Yes. You said super cells. So take it up. I want to listen to that story. So you're on your way. I'll give Jackie a few minutes. I just want to. I'm so interested in what happened next. So what happened next? Yeah.
So when we were talking, it just was like, it was powerful because I think it did something to both of us.
Yeah.
And it just put me in a position of like really owning what it was that I had. And like I said, it's like Superman. Like when Superman really acknowledged his power and his strength, he was able to become who he was, you know, Superman. And once I was able to really accept the fact of what this is and what I can do with it, and the way that I can make a bigger impact by telling my story and showing other individuals what I've gone through, because you'll never see a person having 2 strokes and still living. Like I'm able to articulate. I'm able to continue with a normal life. You know what I'm saying? And there's not many people who go through that same thing. So by me just looking at what I've gone through, it has given me the courage to be like, okay, there's a real purpose for my life. And my purpose now is to show other individuals how they can take this same challenge and how they can use it and flip it and make it work for them instead of working against you. You know what I'm saying? So if I would have stayed in the mindset of saying I have sickle cell, I would be sick in my mindset. But by me saying I'm super, what does super mean? Super means that you're strong. Super means that you're like, you know, you're above everything else. There's nothing that can break you more than you can break yourself. Yeah. And as Jimmy said, by her taking those narcotics, once I really found out what those I mean, at the age of 8 years old, I knew what it was. I knew I didn't want to feel like that. I knew I didn't want to be controlled by any substance, especially something as strong as morphine. That will tear your body down quicker than anything. And I knew at that point in time that that was the most powerful statement that I said. And when I really started speaking openly, and I go into schools and I go into colleges, and I can relate my story to showing them how they can improve their performance by accepting the challenge that you go through. And you can maximize your potential by saying, this will not overcome me. This will not take me, right? So that put me in the mindset of saying, that's what I'm going to run with. I'm going to run with the fact of having super cells, and there's nothing that can stop me more than I stop myself. And if I can show other individuals how to become super, I can give them that same strength. I can give them that same encouragement. I can give them that same empowerment that they need to fight it. So we're all in this together. We're all fighting this together. And one thing, the most important thing that I learned, Agnes, was that I'm the expert. When I go into the hospital, you're asking me what's the level of pain that I'm at. Yeah, exactly. Right? So that means that you can't even tell me what I'm going through. And if I don't convey to you what I'm experiencing, then you don't know. So I'm the expert. I own the rights to my own story. I own the rights to my pain, right? So I'm not going to go in there and you know, act like I'm sick when I'm not sick. Yeah. And then one thing that I don't do is I don't do blood transfusions. Like if God didn't give it to me when he first came to me, then you're not going to put it in my body because it's foreign. And if it didn't come when you put it, when I was born, yeah, we're not doing that. That's why I didn't do a bone marrow, because the doctor told my mother when we was about 15, and this was in the trial stages, he said, ma'am, if your son doesn't have a bone marrow transplant, he's not going to live. And I'm like, you hear me? I told my mother, I said, Ma, we just going to rock this till the wheels fall. If God takes me, he takes me. It is what it is, but you won't put nothing in my body that doesn't belong in. So I don't do blood transfusions unless I need to, right? Because once you continuously do it, then you get the iron overload. Yeah, it's got advantages and disadvantages, unfortunately. So I'll just bring in Jackie for a bit, because Jackie's joining us within Australia. You are in Queensland, are you?
I am, yes, and I'm sorry to be joining late, but I had a bit of technical difficulties. But anyway, I'm here now, and I'm very happy to be listening to all of you, and I want to thank you, Aggie, for putting this all together.
No, thank you. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, thank you for joining us. And so we've got Marz in New York. Yemi is also in New York, and there you are. I'm so glad you joined, because I thought you were not going to manage today. So quickly, how do you tie all this in? Because you are affected as well. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your story too?
Yes. Okay, well, I'm now 62 years of age, so I'm very happy that I've reached my 6th decade because, you know, the prognosis was not very good, as most sickle cell sufferers know. And I was diagnosed very early when I was 15 months. And initially they thought that it was leukemia, but then they found out that it was the sickle cell. And that was in a pre-internet era. So there wasn't a lot of knowledge. There wasn't a lot of information. You know, like today you can click a button on Google, you get everything. So it was quite a long process of having to learn how to deal with it. I had a terrible pain crisis as a child, and a lot of complications. And I was very interested to hear the other lady, I didn't get her name, that she is now also having kidney problems. Yeah, because I'm at that same stage now where I've also got renal failure at this late stage. I'm also on hydroxyurea, which I have found very helpful. So yeah, you know, there've been so many complications, and it's had a very long course. But I like Marz for saying that they are super cells.
Yeah, and you know, like every person is different. I've got a show with you, Jackie, in the coming weeks where you're going to tell me about your remarkable story. But I'm so glad that you joined us today, and you're able to join Marz and Diemi. But you know, every person is different. Every person is different. Like with my daughter, I think Yemi, and I think even you, Marz, you've read about our story. She never had pain. Like I think maybe in the 10 years that she had sickle cell, only went to ED once for a pain crisis. So every person is different and how they live with sickle cell. So I'm learning to find all these remarkable stories between individuals. And Marz, you are not the only one who's not taking anything. I've got somebody who lives here also in Australia, is in New South Wales. He just takes Panadol, and he's SS. So every person is different, and how you sort of deal with this condition and how it affects your body. But I'm just surprised, Marz. So tell me, how many times have you ever had a transfusion? Because you said you never, only when you need to. So how many times, if ever, and when does that period come when you need to have a transfusion?
I would say I've had, within my lifetime, I've had no more than about 7 transfusions. And those transfusions only came when I was in the hospital.
Yeah.
And it was when they removed my appendix and they moved my gallbladder, that, you know, they had to make sure that my blood level was up to a certain level. So that way I would be able to sustain through the operation. But like on just a regular average of saying, you know, having, like my doctors, I'll tell you a quick story. I went into the ER one time because I was having some pain within my leg, and I know my body. So I know when my levels are low, and I know when my levels, I need to check on them. And if my level goes between like a 6, my body operates between about a 7 to 8 with the red blood cells. And I went into the hospital, and they couldn't understand why I didn't have pain. And the first thing they like to do is they like to give you the drugs and say, "Oh, are you experiencing pain?" And I was like, "No." I said, I just need my blood. Just give me my blood, and I'll be out your way. You know? Yeah. And they were like, "Well, how do you have sickle cell, but you don't have no pain?" I said, "Lady, let me tell you something. I don't have sickle cell. First off, I have SuperCell."
Yep.
And like they couldn't understand what I was saying. So I have my hematologist, he would always want to transfuse me. And I would tell him, like, look, I don't need a transfusion, right? So the hematologist that I have now, he found a way where a blood transfusion, all it's going to do is up your iron, right? So they have it to where you can get an iron infusion. Remember that, Yemi. Remember that, Jackie. You don't always need a blood transfusion. Always check your iron level. If your iron level is low, they have iron infusion. You can get an iron infusion versus getting a blood transfusion. So that's what my doctor does now. My hematologist now, he'll make sure that my iron levels, if they're like at a 12, if they're below a 12, he'll give me an iron infusion, which is just as good as a blood transfusion. and I'm not
Okay.
in there all day. And it take about an hour. I
Right.
get that, and I'm out the way.
So can you
So-
explain the advantages and disadvantages of that? So I'm sure some people are going to be confused. So why the iron infusion only and not full blood?
I'm sorry, breaking up.
Was I breaking up?
The blood transfusion, those are good if your blood levels are like low, like if they operate, but like I said, my blood level is about, if it goes under a 6, then I'll do a blood transfusion just to bring it back up. But if my blood level is good and my iron level is low, then I know I just need an iron infusion.
Okay.
Because that's all the blood transfusion is doing. It's just increasing your iron. And that's why there's so many people who have iron overload, because when you're getting blood, you're thinking that it's helping you, but your blood level is where it's supposed to be. And now all they're doing is increasing the iron. And now it's just like if your iron is too much, it's going to put your body in shock. So you have to know where your iron levels are versus your red blood level.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it does. Does it make sense, Yemi and Jackie? Did you get the explanation?
I heard some of it. For me, it's more the hemoglobin level. When that drops, that's when I need a transfusion. And then they give me iron medication to keep the iron down. So that's what it is for me, is the HB level more than anything else. If it gets to about 7, that's when they transfuse me. So, recently I've been having a lot of transfusions.
And the hemoglobin level, that's nothing but your red blood cells. They're trying to control the red blood cells, which is the hemoglobin.
Are we there?
Yes, Jackie, we are still here. We can hear you.
So when they're trying to control the hemoglobin, they're overlooking the fact of where your iron is. And your iron is within the hemoglobin. So if you know what your iron level is, then you don't need a transfusion. You just need an iron infusion. And they're trying to lower your iron because of the fact that they're putting so much in you. And every time that you continue to do a blood transfusion, what are they doing? They're putting you at risk of damaging something else or increasing something else. That's why I said, when you go into the hospital, you are the, what was the word that I used?
Expert.
You are the expert.
The expert.
When you go in the hospital, you're the expert. So every time you go into the doctor and they checking your blood, they're supposed to be giving you a readout of what your blood is, and start learning those numbers. Start learning what it means. So that way you know exactly how to control yourself. And a lot of times we go in there and we think that the doctor is the expert. But what I tell people, your book knowledge does not override my 44 years of experience. There's no way that can be. Right? So if I learn how to know my levels and know exactly where my hemoglobin is, where my iron level is, those are the two things that they focus on the most. The white blood cells, that just lets them know that there's some type of what's the word? Like there's a infection. That's all. That's all the white blood cells. And it lets them know that there's some type of infection. Right?
So now, tell me, when did you start? Because I know you're a motivational speaker. When did that come about? How did it come about? When did you start?
When did I start speaking?
Yeah.
I started speaking in 2017 after I left corporate America, because I'm a person, like, I have a free spirit. And if you try to put me in a box, I'm not going to do it. I'm like that. I'm like a possum. If you put me in a box, all I'm going to do is fight to get out.
Yeah.
So I had a person who spoke over my life, and she could see something in me. And she was like, yo, you're supposed to be out there sharing your story. You're supposed to be out there empowering, encouraging other individuals. So once I really started to truly believe that, and I left corporate America, my life changed and it went in a completely different direction. And it has shown me, you know how many people out here don't even know what sickle cell is? And within the Black community and within, you know, like they don't even understand what it is. And they don't know that if you have the trait that you can continue going on, you know, you can continue spreading it. So I bring awareness to everything that I speak to. So right now, that was when I started. I started in 2017, and I've been able to see my life just blossom and go from where I was. And I don't even know where God is going to take me, but I know it's going to be something phenomenal.
So what programs or what focus groups do you talk to? What sort of programs do you do?
I talk about leadership. I talk about mindset, and I teach individuals how to develop their story. So I have a program called The Power of Communication. And the power of communication is just showing you how to be able to tell your story. And your words have power, like I said. And if you use your power in the right way, then you have control over everything. So I show individuals about how to become the best version of themselves, because it's outside of sickle cell, people are really sick. Like, and they don't even understand it. So what I'll do is I'll show everybody how they have sickle cell, and I'll tell them when the red blood cell comes out, it starts as a whole circle. But when it goes through life, when it goes through its life, it starts to break down, and that's how it becomes sickle. So I tell people when they're going through their challenges of life, you might come out whole, you might start out going through it, but when you go through a challenge, you start to break down. And when you break down, just like when my blood breaks down and it goes through the vessels and it gets coagulated and it starts to be clumped up in one area, then I have a sickle cell crisis. And then when I have a sickle cell crisis, I'm in pain. So when a person is going through their challenges of life and they don't really know how to maneuver through them, then that's when they go into a crisis. And I tell people, because of sickle cell, I know how to endure pain. And you don't know how to endure the pain, so therefore you end up breaking down. You end up going through wanting to quit. You end up wanting to give up life. But because sickle cell has prepared me for what I do, I'm stronger than anybody would ever know. I'm stronger than what I even know. But the word,
you do have pain crisis here and there. You do have the,
I wake up in pain
experience
every day.
Yeah.
I wake up in pain every day. But the fact of, I don't worry about it. I don't sit there and I don't just say, oh God, I'm in pain. I get up every day, Agnes, at 4 o'clock in the morning. Every day I wake up, I have coffee and conversation, which means that I have a conversation with God while I'm reading my Bible. Then after that, I do a 3.5 mile walk every day. There's not a person that you know with sickle cell anemia that's walking 3.5 miles every day. Every day. So I'm strengthening my body.
We had whilst I'm questioning, we had a question on Facebook. There's a question that says, do you use any meditation techniques to overcome pain or anything? Yeah. So what do you do?
Cannabis oil. Hands down, that's all I do. Cannabis oil. I don't put no narcotics in my body. I take cannabis oil. And I learned how to manage my pain through that.
Okay.
So, and that's the only thing that people, once you start to know your body and once you start to know the effects of what helps you, and like Yemi, I just want to tell Yemi and Jackie, if you acquire a holistic type of healing for yourself, you start eating right, I drink water like a fish. So I was having a conversation with my daughter yesterday, and I was telling her, I drink so much water that if my body doesn't get the water that it needs, I know when I'm going to go into pain crisis. But that water helps everything. It's like you're like a fish out of water. Always remember that. If a fish doesn't get water, what does it do? It starts to flop around, right?
Yeah.
So the more water that you drink, the more that you're helping those cells go through the vessel. So the water helps you more than you even know. So
we have another question on.
Go ahead.
Sorry, we have another question on Facebook. They're asking about the 2 strokes. So how did you rehabilitate after that?
I'm still rehabilitating. I read every day.
What?
I read every day. By me talking, by me speaking, that helps my articulation. I walk 3.5 miles, so I'm rehabilitating my body. I go to the gym. I work out my left arm. I work it out because I put in my mindset, I'm going to get some type of mobility back in my arm. And every time I work on it, every time I do something, I look at it in the fact of saying, I'm going to be super in every area. I may not get it all back, but as long as I'm putting forth the effort, then I know that I'm doing the things necessary to make myself better. So every day, walking, drinking water, not taking the narcotics, those are all parts of my routine.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we have about 8 minutes and we're about to finish. There's something very important that I wanted to say. And because I could not share my screen before, I'll try and see if I could. Oh, there we are. So I won't go in detail in terms of what I wanted to talk about our organization. I'm doing this on behalf of Australian Sickle Cell Advocacy, as I said. I'll just quickly say we based in Melbourne with chapters across Australia. I also want to acknowledge our board members. We are managed by a board of directors and we have executive teams around Australia. And our mission and our values, mission mostly is really just to support people who have sickle cell disease in Australia and beyond. And we do this by raising awareness, education, information, supporting people affected. We're also advocating to have sickle cell research in Australia, and we're happy that we have scientists working on that at the moment. We've done a few things. We registered about 2 years ago, and we are so transparent. Everything we do is on social media. I don't want to go into detail because I've been showing this every time, but I just wanted to say quickly that I'm discussing this with Marz, and this is Marz's journey. What he's saying, I don't want people to take it literally just because Marz doesn't take blood transfusion, he doesn't take medication. He's not giving advice. So if you've got any medical condition, please consult your GP. And you can email Marz or you can email me. You can find him on social media. Just ask him how he deals with his treatment, but don't take it literally. You have to ask your GP to manage your condition. If you don't have your GP, we can help you. You can get in touch with us. You can find you a GP in your area, anywhere around the world. We can ask our partners around the world. So that's most important, that this is Marz's journey, Yemi's and Jackie's, and my journey. But if you've got anything that you're going through at the moment, or anytime in the future, make sure that you consult your GP. That was very important for me to share. So yeah, I'll see if I've got any other questions. I don't have any questions, but how can people find you? Do you have any Facebook accounts, any social media accounts?
I'm on Instagram, Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. Everything is Marz Bishop, M-A-R-Z Bishop. Yep. And you can find me on every social media platform. And I would love to connect with you. If there's any questions that you need to ask me, if there's anything that I can help you with, feel free to reach out to me. I'm an open book with closed chapters. That means that I've been through some things in my life and I don't look at the past. I only look at the future. I only look at where I'm going. I don't worry about where I've been, because where I've been, I know that way too well. I'm looking at what I'm about to encounter that's going to make me better. So that's what I focus on.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Marz. Any last words, Jackie? Yemi, are you still there?
I just want to say thank you so much. I've loved seeing all of you this evening, and I look forward to more discussions. So good luck and God bless to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie, for joining.
Jackie.
Yemi, are you still there? Yeah. Yemi, are you still there? I can't see you. Well, I'm not sure whether she's on.
Well, I know she's not feeling too well right now, so I just want to say, Yemi, I pray for you, and I hope that all is gonna work out for you. Make sure that you find out how to control your pain that works for you. I can only give you guys what works for me, what I do. I'm not telling you I'm not a physician, but I know what you're going through. Trust me, I've been there, and I'm not going back there.
Well, thank you
you, Marz.
so
Thank
much.
you.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I sincerely want to thank you, Marz, for coming on the show and opening your journey with your sickle journey with us. And as I said, I always follow you on LinkedIn. You inspire me every day, and I hope you've inspired others by your journey and your superpower. So, you know, with your journey, as I said, I think you mentioned something that really is as very special to me, the way I look at every condition. It doesn't have to be sickle cell. I think the mind and your body have to be, you know, together to work in sync. So it doesn't have to be sickle cell. When you're going through something, I think it's important to acknowledge, to make sure that your mind is really accepting what you're going on and how you can plan that going ahead. So that's something that you dwelled on that I really wanted to say. So you said you have to look you look within and use your potential. So that's really what you're doing, and I've been following you, as I said, on social media. So thank you for joining us tonight. You can join us again on this Facebook. We've got different chapters, Facebook pages, but you can also follow me on Sickle Cell Talks with Agnes. If you've got any questions, you can email us or send us a message on Facebook, or you can send us an email to info@scdtalk.com, and look out for more sessions. We'll be doing this often until we figure out what's happening around the world in terms of the COVID pandemic. So I have another young man coming on next week, and I'll just quickly show this. Another phenomenal guy who's coming on. His name is, oh, there we are. There we are. So Ismail Kando, he's in Canada. He's joining us next week at 10 p.m. Specifically, you have to know that it's 10 p.m. because he doesn't want to wake up at 6 o'clock like you, Marz. So he's going to wake up at 8 o'clock Canadian time, which is 10 p.m. our time, to 11 p.m. next week. So look out for that next week, Thursday. And we've got another show with a hematologist, a professor, on Friday next week. So that's pretty much really. As I said, you can follow me on our Facebook page, Sickle Cell Talks with Agnes. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at sicklecell_talks. And lastly, we are planning a very important event in our calendar. We have the World Sickle Cell Awareness Day on the 19th of June. And we have a panel of speakers from different countries. Marz, please, you should join us. Jackie, you've already registered, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So please join us. It's going to be phenomenal. You know, I've got different clinicians and other stories, but also things that are to my heart. As I said, mental health is a part of me that I feel is important to talk about. So I've got a psychologist and psychiatrist on the panel as well. So yes, thank you so much. Marz, I'll give you the last word. What's your last word before we go?
My last word before I go is, remember, you are the expert. Nobody can tell you about your body more than you can. All right? And always listen to what your body is telling you and find out the way to manage your pain that works for you. You guys
Very
are
good.
phenomenal.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right? And continue to be super.
Yeah. Jackie, any last words?
No, just thank you so much for that, Marz. I totally agree with saying that we are our own experts, because nobody can tell us about what we experience. So thank you for that. I totally agree with that. And good luck to you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us, and you have a nice day. I'll be going to bed now. It was so nice to have you, and looking forward to you joining us again on the 19th of June. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Bye-bye.
ma'am. I look forward to it. Good night, you guys.
Okay,
all
thanks.
Right. Talk to you later.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.